Hello and welcome to Ensuring Your Resume is Always On, accelerated by Gemini. I'm Mitch Story. I am a technical program manager here with Google, and I have been proudly mentoring and helping veterans for the last few years here. Um, as a coach and as a mentor, it's always a pleasure to work with veterans. I'm a veteran myself, United States Army, and I am sharing today this presentation that I put together, which is my framework for mentoring and coaching veterans that come through the program, uh, our Google Skill Bridge program through Hiring Our Heroes, which are usually transitioning veterans. And I'm excited to share this with you today. And what we're going to be going through is our tools and processes, what we're going to be using today, understanding your value and building a portfolio, transitioning that military experience into something that we know to be useful to people who aren't necessarily in the military, how to reflect on your journey in that portfolio, and then leveraging the AI tools. We're going to do ethics as well as a security review. The security review is a fun one because you have clearances, you've got access to sensitive information. How do I talk about things without talking about things? And how do I know where the line is for my security and clearance? So we're going to provide some tips and tricks around all of this, how I've navigated it in the past, and let's get into it. So these are the three tools that I'm going to focus on today in demos and just taking a look at with you. Notebook LM is an excellent tool that allows you to upload documents, ask questions of those documents, and respond to them. Gemini is an excellent tool for just chatting with it. And Google AI Studio is a really cool tool that allows you to interact with it at a higher level, to build applications to kind of test and run through Gemini for those purposes. When we start looking at advanced use cases of remembering things, Google AI Studio is great. We're going to leverage these three tools today for showing how you can work through these prompts and keep your resume always on. So to get into it, we know that everyone's familiar with these key stages, right? You have a resume and cover letter, you apply somewhere, then you get an interview, then you get an offer letter. Ta-da, you're in. There's a lot of things in between here that we want to get right. We want to make sure that we understand each one of these phases, what might be blocking us, and how to move forward through these phases quickly and effectively. And part of this is understanding how you're doing your job search and these methods. And so some people just spray their resume everywhere, applying to everything. I don't recommend this uh, because it's low efforts, but yes, you can have a success rate. You're going to be successful 30 to 40% of the job, some sort of percentage of the jobs that you interviewed for. You're probably going to get an interview of some kind, right? It's possible to do that, although I don't recommend it. There's also recruiters that you can use, which are great resources to be partners. They get to know you, they understand the inside of the company, they can help you navigate what might be best for you. The cons of a recruiter is that they have a quota to fill and they need to show certain experience they know about from a hiring manager. That's also a pro because they know what the hiring managers are looking for and they can talk to you about that. Um, then there's also direct outreach, which is you find a hiring manager that's hiring, you reach out, you sell yourself on them, you talk to them directly. That's an excellent way. It's harder to find those opportunities. It's harder to create those opportunities. It takes more time, but the yield, as you can see, is much higher. Then there's what I call spear phishing, which is I know exactly the job that I want to go after. I know why I want to be there. I can do deep research on everything that I want to know about that company. I can tailor my resume to the position. I can do interviews with people that already work there to do informational interviews. and I can really go after this position. And that's just a tactic or technique I've labeled spearfishing as a way to try and really focus your energy and effort on that one point to get through the door. And this is a very high level of effort, but it's also a high rate of return in getting interviews, which is the main goal that we're trying to do, right? So the key stages with AI acceleration, it looks much different than just these 4 stages. There are a lot of things that you can do with AI now to enhance your resume. If you build a portfolio, you can actually run that through Gemini to help you craft your resumes, do targeted cover letters, targeted resumes. It can coach you on closing your gaps for particular job positions. It can help you rate your strengths and weaknesses to understand where you need to work on and where you might need to target a cover letter. It can help you to take multiple different job descriptions that you're interested in, provide that with one list of requirements, and then rate you. It can also help you do the industry and company deep research or research people that you're interviewing with to understand their backgrounds and experiences before you even meet them. These are all things that are great tools when doing the job search to have as much information as possible to make informed decisions about where you want to apply and the type of role that you might want or not want to find yourself in the end. So, and there's lots more options that I listed here. It's really limited and only bounded by your creativity and how you want to apply these tools to your interview process and your journey. So the always-on approach, what we're going to go through is how to build a portfolio to understand your experience better with AI, how to build a network to share that experience and get feedback, and then how to build a brand to advertise that experience. And so before we get into it, here's just some key advice that I've run every single candidate that I work through for not necessarily candidate, but every single veteran that I have mentored. I found that these 5 pieces of advice are usually the common thread, 5 things that I always talk about. Number 1 is resumes aren't reports. It's not a list of what you did. You have to turn those skills and experience into a marketing tool to help explain to people why you're qualified for a job. Why are you the most qualified for a job? And the next is the job application process is about leveraging your experiments to demonstrate your qualifications and your role in those qualifications. So you want to focus on this is what I did, this was the impact, and this was the result because I did this, right? And which brings us to our third point. You want to run your 5-year-old test against the complex paragraph or sentence that you've run, saying, if I've explained this to a 4th grader, maybe not necessarily a 5-year-old, but a 1st grader or 4th grader, would they be able to understand what I'm talking about? And if they can, then it's simple enough and you're communicating well. If it's not, if you're using like, I developed AI applications and deployed them to the cloud, great. For whom? How many users did you service? What was the business purpose of that thing? What did you get exposed to as far as a business process? So what you're trying to do here is you're trying to reduce the cognitive load for other people by simplifying the communication to allow them to consume it faster, to get into, oh, this person can help me faster. And then you want to be open to the journey. Stay curious. You can also use your cover letters to fill in the blanks and demonstrate your experience, communication skills, and research. So some people say don't use cover letters at all. If you're doing the spray method and you're putting your resume everywhere to try and get in, that's one approach. Cover letters are great when you're operating more out of knowledge and you know more about the position. You can craft a cover letter so that it specifically targets your gaps and weaknesses in your resume. So I think this is an excellent component point to understand is that the cover letters are not applicable in all scenarios. But if used properly, it can help to explain how your military experience will add value to an organization, how a particular duty, additional duty, responsibilities actually added value to the military, and how that's directly applicable, why you think you're doing an outstanding job for that particular manager in that particular role. So understanding your value, understanding the theme, narrative, brand, network. This is a fun part of the presentation, what makes up a portfolio? What is a portfolio? Well, it's a list of project scope, outcome, your impact, your role, and how you measured that. And you can create this in a sheet, just fill in the cells with this data and start to think through back from your last 3 to 5 years, go back as far as 20 if you've got it. But what were you actually doing? How did that contribute a positive value? And what you'll see is the things that come out of that are these themes, these things that you're really good at. And if you follow this kind of framework and structure, you'll find that AI can help you more. The more context you provide it through this minimum data, the more it can help you to craft themes, craft brands, help you with narratives, understand networking, understand job opportunities. Because the key to unlocking artificial intelligence is actually context and prompt engineering. And so by developing a portfolio, it could be a sheet, it could be a Word document that goes through this, however you will most effectively work on that data. That's really what you want to see, is a list of your project or operation, the duration of that was, the outcome and impact, your role in doing that, and how success was measured, and how you contributed to that direct result. And then the themes are, like for me, operational excellence, excellence at scale. All my projects were about improving quality, improving excellence, furthering the mission. So like my themes became very clear. My brand that I chose for myself is excellence at scale for information systems, right? And then narratives. Narratives are very helpful in being able to talk about your experiences quickly. And through your networking, you're going to have a 30-minute window to summarize your complete experiences. So to have 5 to 8 of your narratives on your top points of where you've added value, ready to go, where you've shown leadership, where you've shown teamwork, where you've taken charge of a situation and taking care of those around you, where you've shown humility, to have these narratives ready to go so that you don't have to reach for them. Not so much so that they sound rehearsed, but so that you're familiar with them, you can speak to them and craft them into quicker responses to interview questions. The narratives component in developing those really helps on the interview preparation side. And then networking. Networking is about informational interviews. And we'll talk about this in a little bit as well, but I want to put that in your mind, is that when you're connecting and looking for roles, it's really about collection of information and coming into it from an information interview standpoint. So a brand, what are you good at and who do you want to reach? Do you want to go work for a nonprofit and benefit against a particular cause? Do you want to work for a large corporation that has hundreds of different positions or lateral transfer? Whatever that mission is, there's a brand out there that fits the type of people that are looking for that brand. So there's recruiters looking for people, there's hiring managers looking for people on lots of different social platforms out there. There's lots of different interfaces to find those pools of people that are actively researching out. If you have a brand that speaks to that particular type of team that you want to join, you want to be a part of, um, that's that's where you want to be. You want to be authentic to who your personality is, how you believe you add value, and where you are in your career, what you want to do next. This is all part of crafting a very clear and crisp brand statement for yourself. So narratives. Narratives are, you want to have a North Star narrative. This is, where are you going? Where do you want to be? This is also helps for context for AI assistants, right? By providing the context in these narratives of different things about yourself, the AI can also understand more about you and provide better career coaching assistance and other things like that. And you can recall public facing details faster if you've gone through this. We'll talk a little bit about this in the security reviews as well. And if so what I like to do is, I didn't really understand my mission impact until I actually was out of doing military operations, and I looked back at my units and my public pages and the stuff that is published about what those units do. And using those to help build those into my narratives, I found to be extremely helpful, because that's the public information about what was going on. So I could craft what I was doing based off of that public information and not off of the sensitive information that I had. I found that to be extremely helpful. And then you want to accelerate your reflection. If you had 10, 15, 20 years of experience, but you have a job that you're really interested in, you can accelerate your reflection by asking artificial intelligence, hey, how do I go from this experience to a job doing that? Because that sounds like a lot of fun. What are the pros and cons of that? And engage with the AI for doing that. And when you engage with people, this gets into the informational interview component. You're there to learn. You're there to understand how your experiences might add value to an organization. Asking questions about their experiences. Cultivate genuine curiosity for people and backgrounds and things, and you'll have amazing conversations with people. You want to connect over shared passions, people that you like, stay in touch with them. You never know. I have reoccurring meetings with friends in different industries. You never know what comes from those conversations. It's not necessarily job interviews, but it sure is a lot of interesting experiences and opportunities. So leverage coffee chats too. Ask somebody to grab a cup of coffee or talk for 15, 20 minutes online. I've had people cold call, reach out to me asking for advice on LinkedIn, stuff like that. I usually help those people out, because it's somebody that took the time to craft the message to whatever and tell me what they wanted, what they needed, how they thought I could help. And I'll obviously not say no. I'll do what I can to help them. So if people understand how to help you, they will help you and be part of your team to look for opportunities. And that's really what you want out of these experiences, is you want to give enough information out of networking to have a positive impact on your long-term vision for yourself. Which brings us to important considerations. Develop your own North Star as far as what you want out of the experience, right? Getting a job, you get to decide where you work. So what do you want out of that? What is your through line as a character? Because here you're kind of creating your own story, right? And characters in writing, they have a through line. They have something that they're after. Sometimes that through line is, you know what it is on the first page of the book. Sometimes you don't know it until the last. Know it for yourself and be working towards that. Be intentional about your actions, where you're applying and why. And develop this North Star, because feedback is valuable. Ultimately, you want to be in charge of your journey. Secondly, the other piece of advice that I have with networking is avoid transactional networking. This for that, a transaction, you know, if you're not sure what I mean, just spend some time reflecting on it. You want to avoid transactional relationships. You want to have and seek out more meaningful connections for networking. So how do you actually leverage the network? Gather information, test your ideas. Like, hey, I had this idea that I wanted to learn how to put rockets together. We've been working on XYZ, and I really want to work on rockets. Test that idea against somebody who's in the industry, say 3 or 4 people, and see what their ideas on how that relates and things like that are. You can also use it to validate your approach. Hey, this was my strategy to get into this network and talk with these people. What do you think? Is that something? Validate your brand. Like, ask them, is this brand the right brand for me? Do you think I have more value in this area or that area? And gaining clarity through informational interviews about who you're going after, understanding deeper what you're in for, both the pros and cons of taking a particular career path, making sure you're talking to people who are doing that kind of job to understand really if it is for you or isn't for you. And you can use it to practice your pitch. You can be like, hey, can I give you my elevator pitch for my ideas? And you can tell me whether or not it's good, or you can tell me whether or not it interests you or excites you, or is something I could completely avoid, or just give me your feedback. Because feedback's a gift. Anybody who's willing to give you feedback is coming from their perspective. So just understand that. And then another great way for this is to prepare for interviews. Leveraging your network for mock interviews is something that I don't think people would even think to do. If you have friends that have already transitioned out of the military, or you have somebody who's there, you can leverage your LinkedIn network to post and ask somebody for, hey, I'm going after this position. Does somebody who works at this company or does that could offer up a mock interview? Just understand, when you ask for mock interviews, it's going to usually disqualify that person from actually participating in an interview for you. So just understand that might happen if you end up at a company and you're leveraging your network. They might not do company policy or something like that, be able to refer you and do a mock interview and do this, depending on their internal company policies on how all that kind of stuff works. All right. Portfolio review prompts. So this is kind of fun. You have your job requirements, your portfolio, your desired job list, and your resume, right? These are different things you can use for these portfolio prompt reviews. You can actually upload your resume for a prompt. So let's get into this. So I actually already have a portfolio. And I actually already have a resume. So this is Gemini, and I'm going to use 2.5 Flash. So if you haven't seen the Gemini interface before, you can select the model up here of which one you're going to use, and you can come down here and upload different items. So you can use Gemini. This is a great option for this. The second option is Notebook LM. Notebook LM looks like this. When you go to create a new notebook, you can upload your sources, links. You can go in for Google Drive and ask it questions. You can do that. My favorite to demo out of, though, what you'll see me working out of is, so this is again Notebook LM. You can do deep dive conversations. You can create podcast style audio about yourself and post that online. You can add additional sources, and then you can interact with it and chat with it, these kinds of questions, and get responses. It's a very interesting way to do it. How I like to do my um, my demos though is I like to work from Google AI Studio, and that's just because it has an interesting user interface. It allows me to connect directly with my Drive. I can go here and I can upload my portfolios from the last couple of years. I do a portfolio document where I have a list of all of my projects, their status. So I'm going to insert that here. And I'm also going to insert my resume, my Google resume. Right. Okay, awesome. So now that that's here, I can go back to our presentation and we can see that we want to generate a portfolio. We want to identify some themes and we want to recommend some personal brands. So this will be fun. So let's start with using the information, using resume and portfolio, identify some themes of work. That could become brands for marketing my skill set. And why that's thinking. Yep, there we go. And we can see it's come up with some pretty good results. Let's make it a little bit bigger so you can read it remotely on the video here. It says, oh, GRC, which I know is governance, risk, and compliance. You might not know that. Audit transformation leader. Yeah, I kind of done a little bit of audit and compliance work. Operational excellence. Oh, it's my choice is actually the number 2 rate. That's not bad. Operational excellence and process engineering. Governance, risk, and technology automation strategist. That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of myself that way, but I suppose I've done some of that work. Cross-functional integrator and partner builder. Yeah, I do a lot of that as a technical program manager, technical domain expert, and knowledge skiller. That's fun. It's a little flattering, but I appreciate your input there, Gemini. And so, assuming that you have gone through, you've gone through your resume and created a list. Like this is my top projects, what percentage of my work they were, what theme they were contributing to, and then who my contractors were and who was supported, and a summary of breakout of the other important information we've gone through, right? The operation, what was the duration, and the other key project portfolio stuff. So now that we have that, we also want to see, okay, we've identified some themes. What are some personal brands? What are some personal brands that I could focus on if I wanted to pursue, we'll say, building rockets? I'll use the example. Building rockets. How would this experience transfer? So that's an interesting one. So while that loads, let me just give you a quick run through of AI Studio here. On the right, you can see what models you have, either 2.0 or 2.5. You can also do temperature based off of how creative you want it to be or not creative. You can also set budgets on how long you want it to run for and on what. And structured output or code execution function calling is also some fun things, advanced features that you can play with. There's also advanced settings down here. I like to generally use 2.5 Flash because it generally executes faster. Looks like it's running. There we go. Cool. So this is, okay, pivoting to rocket building and aerospace industry. It gives me why it fits. Like I've never considered actually working on rockets before. I just said it as an example earlier and wanted to kind of dig in here. So mission assurance and regulatory compliance, cool. High reliability systems program manager, cool. Aerospace operations integration strategist, that's kind of cool. So let me actually try and find a job in aerospace operations on Google. And I'm going to pull that job description over to show the next demo here. We're doing this live, so if there's an aerospace operations job description, I'm going to find it under just general jobs. And here's one. Flight operations compliance manager in Los Angeles. That'll do. And so it has the list of the job description. So using this job description as requirements, rate my my qualifications against these from a rating of 1 to 10, 10 being most qualified. Right? I paste in that job description from the Google search where I had found it on jobs.google.com and I pulled it over. I run that. So you should submit aviation expertise, regulatory knowledge, leadership, analytical skills. I feel like I have some of these, but I mean, I'm a private pilot. I guess that's aviation experience, right? But we'll just pretend that this particular job description really interested me. And this is the one that I want to find background on. So the assessment is aviation preferred, your qualifications, and it actually gives me like a full review here on how I did with a scoring model. My rating is 1. Significant lack of direct required domain knowledge. You know what? I actually didn't put it in my resume that I was a private pilot, that I could fly fixed wing aircraft and rotary wing aircraft. I should go in there and put that in there so the AI model knows about it. right? And if the AI model couldn't pick up on it, then that means that people who are actually looking when I applied for this job didn't see it either. So this is an excellent tool to evaluate your blind spots on where you know you're qualified, but nobody's seen it, right? And that's where you can get into some trouble in the application process, is that if it's not communicating that you're doing well, or if you know, like in this one, safety programs and risk monitoring, even though I don't have direct experience in that, non-commissioned officers are just safety people by nature, and describing some of my additional duties in a cover letter would be an excellent way to shore that up to make sure that I'm getting the interview. All right. So this is a quick demo of how you can use this. My overall rating is 6 out of 10. So I'm not passing the class on switching careers in aviation just yet. But I hope you can see the value in taking your knowledge and experience and putting it in the AI and running through some of these prompts to have it evaluate your experience against where you're trying to go. Because this can help you roadmap a plan too, right? I can say, okay, come up with a 2-year training, in fact, I could say training plan, but you know what? I don't want to wait. A 2-year career plan, because I might not be able to get this job today, but I want the job that'll give me that job within a year or 2 years. So come up with a 2-year career plan to get me into this role. And it will come up with that for you and help guide you. Now, don't use what it says as the end all be all when you're doing your career planning. Use it as input and a way to provide feedback on your own thoughts and results of where you're trying to go and have some options for how to get there. So this is great. It's giving me a primary focus area over the next 2 quarters. It's giving me a 1-year action plan. So this is great. And then year 2, experience in targeting. So this is great. Some ways you can shorten the answers if you don't like it to be this verbose is that you can also ask for the plans or responses in 200 words or less, or 500 words, or whatever your preferences are. Feel free to put those in. Like I can put, there's a systems instructions bucket up here at the top, so I can say, provide answers to questions in less than 500 words. Or if you're doing a lot of resume evaluations, like how qualified am I for this job? How qualified am I for that job? You can just put that prompt in here at the top and then copy and paste each time you come across one and pull it over. Gemini has the ability to do that, and so does Notebook LM to put prompt like system instructions in. So just to show you in 100 words, craft a plan to create a network of aviation mentors to learn quickly what I need to learn for this position. And we can see that it'll probably process a little bit faster here because I have shortened the output. A little bit. Okay. So, but I like this. Refine your ask. Define your learning goals when you're working with people. Craft your introduction. Identify your potential mentor. And start identifying people on LinkedIn. So this is great. So that's portfolio review, resume review, and a snapshot. These are some example portfolio review prompts. Let's get into it. So we've done an initial review, we've done our initial portfolio, we've built all of that. But is this where I want to go? So conducting a self-assessment is a fantastic next step, right? Once you've done some exploratory, you've crafted your experiment of where do I want to go? How do I want to get there? And you kind of have an idea. Conduct a self-assessment. What was the work that I was really doing to give me energy? This really helped me to find my North Star. What is the list of things that I really want to do? And create a list and say that, these are the things that I really want to be doing. What is something that you have learned that made everything else after came easier? And what is the most rewarding job that you've ever had and why? Describe the best team you've ever worked with and what made it stand out. Those are the things that you want to bring to an interview when you have an opportunity at the end of an interview to ask certain questions about teams. Once you identify those things that you like about high performing teams, about people that you've worked with, it's an opportunity to ask those questions about that team. Are more of your achievements come from the result of solitary work or teamwork effort? It's very important to understand, even if 70% of your work came from solitary work and 30% of your work came from teamwork, it's important to know which one you enjoy doing. There's also this link of how we hire that Google has on their career applications. It's an excellent self-assessment journey kind of explanation, far better than the 6 questions that I came up with here. I highly recommend you check it out. They emphasize conducting a self-assessment as the first part of the process. And that's because you have to really know and understand where you want to be and how you want to perform. All right. Reflecting on your journey. We conduct the self-assessment and we think big. The greater danger for most of us lies not in setting our aim too high and falling short, but in setting our aim too low and achieving our mark. Too true, Michelangelo, too true. So think bigger, don't just think about that first year. Set a big goal for yourself that you might think might take 5 years. I found that when I did that, I could usually cut the time in half once I really got focused on what I needed to do and how to get there and started understanding to get there. So if you think you can get there in a year, once you really get focused, it'll be interesting to see how fast you can get there. If you think it might take you 5 years, you might surprise yourself. So think big, think 5 years, 10 years. It's okay. Reflection prompts. These are the ones that I think are really good that you should definitely pause the video and try on your own. Highly recommend, right? These are things that can help you tease out what you want. And you might have other questions that are personal to you that you need to talk to somebody about. How do you transfer a particular experience or something you really enjoy doing? Also, don't be above using your network to find a coach. Finding coaches is great. People who have already transitioned, that already have a couple of experience, already have a couple of years experience, that are working where you want to work. Those are all opportunities to reach out. So tools review. So we went through Notebook, Gemini, Google AI Studio. These are very useful. Check them out, play with them, understand the prompts, understand what you're going to be working on. And then most importantly, we want you to leverage the AI tools and accelerate the high quality applications, cover letters, resumes, and interview prep. So here are some resume review prompts. that are great when you want to evaluate. We went through the 1 to 10 example in the demo earlier, and then generating a cover letter, just as simple. Using this job description, my portfolio, my resume, prepare a cover letter for me. And interview preparations, this is fantastic. You can use Google Gemini's deep dive functionality to actually go in and help to find your future company, to help do the research. It'll prepare a one-pager for you so that you can really get in there and understand the 360 on the company. Check Gemini at the bottom. There's a deep research feature. Check it out. So ethics. Pretty straightforward here. Start with your content. Don't start with stuff you found on the internet or ask it to generate things for you. Start with your content. That helps to give it context on what should be there. Secondly, use what the AI has to say as a feedback point, not as the end all be all authoritative. You're going to want to speak with people actually doing the work and do the informational interviews to understand and make decisions with real data, not just content generated by an AI. And then honesty and transparency. AI is a powerful tool. It may actually make changes that are not true to your resume when generating things. Take ownership of it. Make sure that you're honest and transparent with what is actually in your resume before you send it. Avoid bias. Highlight your qualifications and achievements based on merit, and avoid relying on any stereotypes or generalizations. Be authentic to who you actually are and who you want to be associated with your North Star. Security reviews. So we all have things that we can't talk about. Be sure that you're not uploading any cookie information into the AI. Make sure that anything that you're sharing externally has been reviewed by an authorizing official for release. This is why I really like Googling the mission of the actual unit that I worked for, organization that I worked for, understanding how it related to the other units and the multiple chains of command, understanding what I was really doing in a larger picture. That research can help you avoid the, oh, I'm sorry, I can't talk about that, it's classified, into a narrative that is publicly assured, well classified. You can work with your authorizing official and your security officers and your units to help craft those narratives before you leave by simply setting up an actual kind of a debrief conversation of what you plan to put in your resume, and using your internal network within the government now is an excellent time to get that reviewed to make sure that everything that's in your resume is good to go, right? This is an extra step that as military members we have to do. It's hard to walk this line and talk about it in interviews. Practicing those narratives, having those narratives ready to review with the security official, to be like, I want to talk about this project in this way, and this is how I'm going to limit it. Am I going to get in any trouble here? And am I allowed to use you or another officer that works for you as a point of contact for reference to verify that project? You'll need to do this if you're working on getting your PMP certification or other things that require credentials to verify that you've had a project over a period of time. So it's good to do it as you're exiting the military. If you've already exited, you may still have some of those contacts that can help you with that. If you don't have those contacts anymore, you can follow up with your with what's on Google and use your best judgment associated with that. So thank you so much. I hope everyone found this helpful, the demos and running through these actual examples. And I wish you all the best of luck in your journeys. And most importantly, thank you for your service. And for those who haven't served and maybe spouses of military members, thank you for supporting those who served and all that you have done and continue to do for the country. Thank you so much.